Although we are not saying that violating precepts is a good thing. Of course, violation of moral precepts is not good, but it is still better than keeping the idea that moral precepts are unimportant or that there is no need to make amends for the mistakes we have done. Therefore, discipline will provide you with a guideline of what not to do, as well as what to do once you have done something wrong. And at the same time, it also tells you what you can do to help other people. Therefore, the idea of Buddhist precepts will never be a restrictive or a negative one. Just like the Flower Garland Sutra tells us, the basis of unsurpassed awakening is moral restraint. And we must be confident in the fact that infinite benefits are created by upholding the moral precept of Buddhism. Yet, many people still think the precepts are intended to enslave us and cause harm. There's something which we must bear in mind, which is the fact that the Buddha never actually told us things that we can do or we can't do. The Buddha himself never said, we must do this, we must do that. Instead, he only explained the consequences of moral behavior and immoral behavior, and then left the decision of how to act upon us. Therefore, he taught us to find the ability to recognize what is wrong and what is right, and also the wisdom and ability to achieve or to prevent whether it is right or wrong. In other words, we all have the freedom to choose how we will live. Nevertheless, while we have said that we have the freedom to choose how we will live, these are questions for you to think about. How can we attain spiritual and emotional liberation without living a moral life? Think about it. And how can true happiness be found on the suffering of other people? If others are unhappy, do you think you can live a truly happy life? Think about this. Okay, now the next paramita will be the paramita of patience or endurance. And if we were to look at this paramita, it could literally mean patience under insult. Or it could also be interpreted or translated as endurance. And what does this paramita do for us? At least it teaches the strength by showing us how to control our anger. We were all born into the human world, and Buddhism calls the human world the Saha world. What does the word Saha mean? Saha literally means to endure. And it tells us that in our interaction with the world, we have to come across a lot of things which requires much patience and endurance. Therefore, this particular paramita will teach us how to deal with things which we need to endure, and at the same time, how to help other people, practicing the act of endurance. Now, before we've talked about the paramita of generosity, which teaches us how to reach out to others. And secondly, the paramita of discipline teaches us how not to harm other people. And now the third paramita, which is the paramita of patience, will teach us how to endure the inevitable hardships that will arise as we interact with the world. Let's look at the following quotation from the sutra in 42 sections. It says, "Who is the most powerful? The one who can be patient under insult. For such a one is free from resentment and is respected by all." And the next quotation also says something similar, which is from the Sutra of Bequeathed Teaching. It tells us that patience is an even higher virtue than upholding precepts or ascetic practice, for patience requires greater strength. In both quotations, you will see the words power and strength. Remember, in Buddhism, what we mean by the greatest power or strength is not that strength to thrust a punch when you get angry. Instead, Buddhism recognizes the greatest power or the greatest strength in our ability to withhold that urge to thrust that punch. In other words, the greatest strength comes from our ability to control and deal with our anger. And now there are three kinds of patience which we can look at. The first one is what we call ordinary patience. Ordinary patience refers to the types of things which we need to be patient with, or the things which we need to endure in the ordinary world, such as the environment around us. For example, in ordinary patience, we learn to put up with the discomfort or the comfort which our environment may give to us. For example, there are times when the weather is too hot. There will be times when the weather is too cold. Or there will be times when you're hungry, when you're too full. There will be times when you're moving too fast, moving too slow. And there will be times when we have to come across situations which you deem as good or bad. These are all things which would require ordinary patience. In other words, ordinary patience is what we normally think of as patience. And now the second type of patience is what we call Dharma patience. And Dharma patience refers to forbearance that arises from our understanding and application of the Buddha's teachings. This would rely on our understanding of theories such as karma, dependent origination, emptiness, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Noble Path, and the Three Dharma Seals. Therefore, we no longer just need to endure hardships and irritation given to us by our surrounding environment. Instead, we're actually seeing things a different way. Therefore, before we may have had the ability to control a negative response, now we have the ability to understand our situation in a completely different way, therefore not giving rise to a negative response in the first place. So this is the second type of patience, what we call Dharma patience. Now the third type of patience is what we call patience of one who fully understands emptiness, which is also known as patience of non-arising dharmas. And since it is based on understanding that ultimately conditioned dharmas do not actually arise at all, it becomes deeper and more powerful than Dharma patience. In other words, the practitioner goes beyond even the slightest feeling or thought of having to be patient at all. And this is based on the understanding of emptiness that is so deep that the practitioner completely realizes that even when phenomena or events arise, nothing really actually has arisen. So this is the level of patience of one fully understands emptiness, or patience of non-arising Dharma. And now, patience under insult can be thought of as a refuge, or a kind of strength, or a method of refining the spirit. Just as precious stones must be polished before their value can be seen, so the human spirit must learn forbearance before its deep level of wisdom will open. Let's take a look at the famous super marathon runner, Lin Yijie, from Taiwan. When he was undergoing training and studying at the same time, he had to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning to run 10 kilometers. And then, before school, he has to go through some training. And he doesn't get any rest. Even after school, he will have to drive a taxi to make money to support himself and even the family. And sometimes after that, there's more training and running. He lived like this for many years before becoming one of the world's top supermarathon runners. In his case, we can see that his success comes from having to endure a lot of hardships. Just as people believe that when people never experience hardship, they will never learn the art of patience. They will never go grow to their fullest potential. In Lin's situation, he put his own mind and his physical condition to the greatest extent of challenges in order to bring out his full potential and to show the world that he too can be one of the best runners in the world. Therefore, when faced with insults, we should be thankful for them. And we should even be thankful for the injuries that people heap upon us. Because these are the experiences that will ultimately teach us the most. Therefore, the worst experiences in our life will sometimes be the very factor that makes us find the best part of life. Just as Mencius once said, before heaven can bestow great responsibility on anyone, they must first test that person's resolve, work his body, starve his system, deprive him of his needs, and disrupt his life in order to strengthen his patience and improve his skills. If we want to succeed at great things, we must first learn to endure great hardships. Now, patience under insult is used mainly to cure the illness of anger. So the moment we become angry, our wisdom is clouded in much the same way that the sun or moon can be blocked by dark clouds. This can be demonstrated with the story of a turtle. Once there was a turtle who lived in a pond that was getting very close to becoming dry because it hasn't rained for a long time. And as the turtle faces the threat of death because of the shortage of water, one of its very good friends, which was a bird, felt sad for the turtle and said to it, if you keep staying here, you're going to die because there is not going to be any water for you, so you should move. But the turtle answered, I thank you for your kindness, but I can only move ever so slowly. There's no way that I'd be able to reach another pond before I die of thirst. Therefore the bird, there are in fact two birds, the birds said to it, well, here's the deal, let us help you. The two of us are going to carry a stick on our claws, and what you need to do is bite onto the stick tightly, and that way we'll be able to carry you from this pond to another pond. But remember, you must never open your mouth or say anything before we reach the pond. So the turtle said, okay, I'll do it. And therefore they carried out with the plan. But when the birds flew the turtle across a village, there were children underneath who started pointing at the turtle and said, hey, this stupid turtle got caught by two birds, which made the turtle very angry. And he couldn't hold it and opened his mouth and said, you have no idea what this situation is about. I was never caught, they're my friends. But before he realized that talking resulted in the consequences of him falling, his shell already shattered, and he died from not being able to hold on to that stick out of anger. So the moral of the story tells us that if the turtle was able to endure the insult given to him by the children, then he would not have died by falling all the way to the ground. So once again, if we want to succeed in anything we want to do, the first thing we need to learn is ways to endure great hardships. Just as the Sutra of Patience under Insult has told us, patience is a spiritual armor that no soldier can penetrate. It is like a great ship that can carry us across the waters of suffering. It is like great medicine that can save many lives. Therefore, so remember, the paramita of patience will require much work in our ability and to deal with things that we don't like, or the things which may even make us unhappy or angry. So today or this week, we only have enough time to go through the first three paramitas. And in the next week, we will go through the remaining 3 paramitas and talk about their significance. So just as a short revision, today we have gone through the 6 paramitas. And the first paramita which we have discussed today are the paramita of generosity. Secondly, the paramita of discipline. And thirdly, the paramita of patience. We'll stop here this time and we'll use next week's time to finish discussing the rest of the 6 paramitas. So I'll see you next time.